Welcome back. Welcome back to another Beeline to Passports. My name is Joe Batista. I'm your host. And tonight we have a special guest. This special guest, she is an actress. Also, she is a producer, first AD, and a production manager. Her name is Danielle J. Bowman. Danielle, welcome to Beeline to Passports.
Thank you so much. Thanks so much for having me.
And thank you for accepting the invitation. And like every week, we ask our guests how everything started. We want to know about your childhood, your education, where you're from, and also if you have family in the entertainment business. That's a question then people want to know.
Okay. Well, I currently live in Orlando, but for me, it took me moving completely to the other end of the country for me to even get into this business. I grew up in LA.
Okay.
San Fernando Valley, to be specific. And oh my gosh, I probably drove my family insane as a child because I was always wanting to perform. And if I could get a laugh or if I could have an audience,
okay,
I'd be performing something, being goofy, whatever. I didn't really know what yet. If I had no audience, I'd be in my room doing it with my dolls.
Hey, that was the audience.
Right?
It's true that they clap, but in silence.
Yeah. So, I mean, for years and years. So for me, growing up in LA, there's technically a lot of opportunity to get into this industry, but it was also a really long time ago before computers. I was a kid. We didn't have computers. We didn't have cell phones. And it was a tough nut to crack. So my parents, before we realized I would be 5'3", I wanted to be a model. That's all I wanted to do was be a model. And I thought that would be, fun and glamorous. And then I, topped out at 5'3".
Oh.
So, but they put me into modeling school and I did some print work, nothing super major, but I think I made it inside like the LA Weekly magazine one time. So had some fun stuff, did fashion shows and print.
Okay.
Because that's what short models do.
Yes.
Is we do print. I did theater. It's kind of funny though, because now that I'm in this business working full time, I laugh early on where I had a neighbor down the street. I don't have any family that's in the business.
Okay.
Really. But I had a neighbor down the street whose dad worked at Burbank Studios.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And I just thought that was super cool. I don't even know what he did. I don't know what this guy did.
Probably,
I just knew that he worked.
Probably working in the cafeteria.
Who knows? It could be anything. But this kid that I grew up with down the street, he had an agent and he had done a few things, nothing big. And he had really no interest in it. But his mom was like, well, I'll take you to his agent.
Wow.
So we did a go-see. I knew nothing. No one prepared me, like what I should do, what I should say. No prep whatsoever. I'm just this like stupid 12-year-old kid. And they bring me in and sit me down. And the only thing I'd ever done to that point is theater.
Okay.
Where you need to be big and loud. Because you got to reach the back seats and you got to be big with your expressions. And so nobody told me not to do that.
Okay.
So I'm sitting with this poor woman and she gives me some script to read. I don't even remember what it was. I'm sure I've mentally blocked it out, but it was awful. I was big and loud.
Wow.
I mean, I've always been kind of big and loud, but for this, I needed to be small and intimate and genuine. And so she said, no, thank you.
Well,
and at 12, I thought that was my chance and I blew it. I don't have what it takes. I don't have it. So I kind of put it out of my mind. But growing up where I grew up, you see filming
Yes.
If you pay attention, it's going on everywhere. Night Rider was shooting down the street from my house.
Nice.
And I was coming home from school on my bike in my little private school uniform. And I'm like, oh my gosh.
And you see the car flying.
I saw the car. And so I don't know why I felt like I had to go home and change first, but flew home, changed my clothes, rode over there, got to meet David Hasselhoff. He signed a script, took a picture with me. And like stuff like that happened periodically growing up. So it kind of, even though I'm like, oh, I'm no good to do it, I always still had this fantasy.
Yes.
I don't even want to call it a dream, because I didn't think I could. I didn't think I had anything that it took, and I didn't know how to figure it out. My parents didn't really, know how to figure it out. And honestly, it to them probably didn't feel like a stable choice. So
sure,
that's a hobby. Mm-hmm. You do that as a hobby. So I just moved on. I put it in the closet. I went to college and studied psychology. and got into the corporate world, and I worked in kind of corporate America for 15 plus years.
Wow. Yes.
I supported the arts with my kids growing up. They're very artistic, so I'd always support that as a family. So then we moved to Colorado.
Okay.
That's where my husband's from. So we raised our kids in Colorado, and I didn't really do any film there. Again, it's in the closet. I'm not qualified.
Wow.
But there was an opportunity to do a Huntington's disease fundraiser.
Okay.
That my friend found out about in northern Colorado, little tiny nothing town. And so me, my husband, and the kids, we all performed for 2 years straight for this fundraiser. And so that was so exciting to just have even that little toe back into the arts.
Wow.
And that's got my daughter, Madison, is an amazing singer, belltone, absolute belltone. So she sang, my husband and I sang. It was, we did dances. It was so much fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, I think, I always had a dream of this. And it wasn't until I moved to Florida, of all things.
Wow. And when was that? When you moved to Florida?
In 2016.
2016.
I had gotten a job offer from one of my corporate America jobs that moved us out here, and I wasn't going to do it unless the whole family was, on board, because the kids were getting older.
Yeah, friends, the school.
Yeah, those
girlfriends.
Oh my gosh. Well, yeah,
boyfriends.
So yes. I think we moved when my son was going to be a sophomore in high school, and my daughter was into middle school. So I'm like, those are really hard ages to be like, we're moving.
Yeah.
But they were amazing. The whole family was on board with it. And I'm so glad they did. Because although, that job, that career, that whole, everything I was doing was a nightmare.
Yes. Yeah.
Horrific, room lengthening nightmare. If it hadn't happened, if that bad thing hadn't, happened, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing today. I don't know.
Let me tell you, if I tell you my background, my bachelor degree is sociology with criminal justice.
Oh, nice.
I have a master.
Always fascinated me, by the way.
Yes.
Always.
Yes. Yeah. I have a master in business administration, human resource, and all that things. But I always been in the entertainment. My dad was a musician. My mom was a singer.
So you could play a cop or a detective.
Most of the time. My dad was a police.
Legit.
and my dad was a police officer in New York.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, New York police department, officer for years until he retired from there. I remember when I was a kid playing with the handcuffs and playing, have the baton. There was always on the closet, and there was wood. Very, very, very rough wood. That was years ago when it was wood. Now it is fiberglass or something different. Sometimes steel. But, playing with that and seeing all this stuff. And that's why when I got the opportunity to start doing some theater. I did some theater. I was a police officer on theater. And
sticking with your roots.
Exactly. In some films, I've been doing police officer, FBI agent, all these things, and something a gangster. But
you've
that's
got a knowledge base to tap into.
Exactly.
That's pretty clever.
I know how to handle weapons on the good side or the bad side, but I can do it. But yes, and when you see the roots, like, okay, it's something that you learn, some stuff that you want to apply, and that will help you for performance.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have some kind of knowledge that you're going to transfer that knowledge to your performance.
Oh, I agree. Same thing with life experiences too.
Exactly.
So anyway, yeah, I just laughed that took me a lot of years and a lot of miles coming across the country for me to, finally kind of jump in. And it wasn't like overnight.
Yes, yeah.
It's a building process. So, when I first started, I still was with the company that I was with that brought me to Florida.
Yes.
But honestly, I thank her every time I do any kind of interview, because it's honestly, I think my daughter who truly brought me back to opening that door that I'd put my little fantasy in, because you know how kids are. They're like, well, Mom, I want to do ice skating or soccer. Well, she came to me and it's like, Mom, I think I want to get into acting. And, but not like for school.
Correct.
She wanted to, like, I want to get into acting. So
correct.
Just like any other activity, I'm like, okay, we got to figure it out as parents.
Yes. Yes.
And she was a teenager. So I think she was like 14. And I'm like, okay, well, I have to figure it out for her. Because I didn't really feel like I got the support I would have wanted way back then. I'm like, no, I want to be better. I want to do that. So we started figuring out just like local things. And that's how we came across Orlando Independent Filmmakers.
Nice.
And it's, and I'm sure there's groups similar to this all over the country, all over the world. You just have to look for it with intention. And, Google's your friend.
Yes.
I found it on social media. I literally, you just go to the search bar on Facebook and started plugging in Orlando film, hit enter, and voila, there's like a million groups.
Yes.
So I found that one and it was, great. It gave me an opportunity to get her into film. These are all like pretty much amateur to, semi-professional productions. They're really all different levels.
Yes.
Someone could be a brand new filmmaker or been doing it for, 5, 6, 7 years. And so she got some acting roles.
Nice.
Which is what she wanted. And she's very good, by the way.
It is.
It is very good.
And we want to talk about, her daughter in the next segment. That's because I'm going to tell you guys, I work with her daughter and I didn't know that was her daughter until I was talking to her, getting the information for the interview today. But let's take this short commercial break and we'll be right back with more of Miss Danielle J. Bowman here in Beeline to Passports on GKI Radio. We are back. We are back from commercial break. great music. You're listening GKI Radio. My name is Joe Batista. I'm the host of Beeline to Passports. And tonight we have this beautiful guest. Her name is Danielle J. Bowman, and she is an actor, producer, first AD, and also a production manager. And like we were talking on the first segment, then I met your daughter this year on a production. It's called The Refugee, and she was the first AD.
Mm-hmm.
And amazing. Love work with her. I would love to work with her in future projects as well, and future productions. Then our company will looking to do. We would love to bring her as a first AD. But searching, your information, your biography and pictures, I start seeing this face like they look alike. And I start like,
see, we don't think so.
and I started getting some information and see the names, Madison and Daniel. Oh, mom and daughter. Definitely. Definitely. Your husband's still on the, doing some stuff in the industry?
We drag him in every once in a while.
Okay. Okay.
Mostly like for husband-wife castings for commercials.
Awesome.
And up until a couple of years ago, we would do family commercials.
Okay.
We actually did quite a few. It was a lot of fun.
And your son?
Yeah, I have a 23-year-old son. He does not fancy himself an actor at all.
Okay.
But for family commercials, because they love casting real families.
Correct.
Because you just have natural chemistry. He could handle that. He's like, no, that's great because I just have to be your son. I just have to be a brother. Mm-hmm. And so that is far, for him, he's like, that's great.
Awesome.
And so we've done, handful of some pretty good commercials together.
Awesome. And in the last 2-3 years, you came in the 2016 to the Orlando area. In the last 2-3 years, what project you have been involved that people can start searching on the websites, IMDb, and start seeing you acting?
It's been, I've done well over like 80, 90 different projects, whether I'm in front of or behind the camera.
Oh, nice.
And I'm really only just now finishing my 4th year in this business.
Wow.
So
full time.
No, when I first started, I was still working my prior job.
Okay.
And I was a director of operations in an office, kind of an important, bigger job. So I did that full time. Mm-hmm. And then I'd come home from work and start working on film stuff. Once I found it, and after getting my daughter into it, and it's only a matter of time.
Yes.
Before you start getting pulled in. And if someone has no interest, well, great. But I did. So I would do both. So I think a lot of the projects that I've got on the acting end right now, I have a handful that they just haven't released yet.
Yes.
And so I can't really talk about too much of them. I did a film a couple of years ago that it's released on IMDb.
Okay.
But it's not really released. You can't view it anywhere.
Not yet. Okay.
They're holding it. They're holding on to it. But it was for Maybelline Prince. Mm-hmm. It's a story about the Maybelline Cosmetics empire. And I got to play a really, really horrible, horrible person, which is so fun.
Oh, they say that. I did a short film last year. I was the devil.
Oh, wow. Okay, the actual devil.
Yeah, that was so fun.
Can't get any worse than that.
Yeah, I was the devil. I was killing people.
Oh my goodness.
Or basically making the person to kill themselves.
Sure.
But that was fun.
Go kill him.
Yeah, that was so fun. But also I did in another film, The Priest.
Oh, too funny.
I did a balance. I did a balance, Saint and the devil, But always when we talk to actors, they always say that, it's so fun.
It's adventurous. I think, you know, everybody, we have all these facets to us.
Yes. Yes.
You know, someone could say, no, I'm a good person. Okay. Yeah, I'm a good person. It doesn't mean that we don't have these other sides to us that we can tap into.
Correct.
Everybody can be a jerk. Everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody has these sides. So, yeah, I tend to, I like diving into a character and that's damaged. I find those to be a challenge to portray.
Yes.
And become that person. So, but you know, I end up with a mix. I kind of had a nice little booking run. I booked, you know, 3 Miami films in a row.
Wow.
And so I'm always telling people, because I had done 23 straight auditions and had not booked a single one. This was beginning of last year. And a lot of people start to question, well, what's wrong with me? Why am I not booking? And keep putting it on themselves that they're wrong with them. And I've gotten a pretty thick skin and a healthy attitude. And I'm like, no, I don't, my job is to do that audition. That's the job.
Yes.
So I'm going to give you my best interpretation of this character. And now the ball's in their court. I could be too fat, too skinny, too tall, too short, too old, too young, too everything. You know, they don't sometimes know what they want until they see it.
Exactly.
So I just audition and move on. But I ended up then boom, 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 booking 3 different feature films in Miami. Through I have an amazing agent that submits me to, as much as he can, to feature films, and 2 of them were reporters.
Wow.
And then one of them, I was a bridal store owner. So not bad people.
No.
But still, they're fun, you know, fun roles. And all 3 of them haven't released yet. So I'm still waiting.
And let me tell you, when you were talking about 23 that you submit, you didn't receive, you know, the callback on that ones. I can imagine you start using your psychology degree, because that's the part, and for the audience, it's hard. It's like sales. When you do sales, they tell you, and when they do the training, oh, remember, is the magic number is 10. From 10 people that you visit, 5 will say no. 3 will say maybe. And you have 2 that might be interest. Right? And from that 2, 1 will be interest. And this is a numbers game.
It really is. Yes, you need talent. I mean, that's kind of a given. If you, you know, have it, great. If you don't think you have it, doesn't mean that you can't improve and drive toward that. So, you know, get into classes and be working on your craft.
Correct.
But some of it I joke at home, especially for commercial auditions. I love doing commercials, fun. But a lot of it is, it won't matter how good you are if you don't have the look that they want. And sometimes they truly don't know what they want until they see it.
Correct.
And I get that. So that's been very freeing for me to just be like, well, I'm going to give you the best audition I can, but this is my face. I can't change it. This is what it is. And you are likely never going to get feedback.
Correct.
So it's just going to be soul killing.
Yes.
If you spend time pining. Well, but I really want it. Well, so does everybody. Everybody wants it. So, you know, but if you're on emotional and mental well-being, the best thing that I've figured out early on, and it might be because I spent a ton of years in a sales background, is I don't need everyone to like me. I don't care if everyone likes me. And if I've given my best, then you hit submit on that audition, and I mentally move on. I track everything.
Correct. Yeah.
It goes on a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Because you can't know how to improve and where to improve if you're not tracking things. But it's very liberating. I talk to people. I have people reach out to me anytime I put one of those booked it posts out there on social media. they're like, what was it? And, you know, how did you do it? Sometimes I don't know. I mean, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to prepare. You know, I do everything that's in my control.
Correct. And in this industry, I always say it in the show, then you need to be prepared in 3 areas: physical, mentally, and emotional, to work in the entertainment industry.
Yes.
Yeah, physically, because
and be healthy.
Yes.
You know, be healthy in those areas.
Yes.
This is a tough industry to be in.
Yes.
If you're not taking care of those things.
Correct.
I totally agree.
Correct. You know, going to, on a film set, you can be minimum 8 hours.
Oh,
that's the minimum.
When does that happen?
Yeah.
It's usually 10 or 12.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I did one that was 8 hours. I was like, for real?
Sometimes commercials. I've had some commercials where I'm like, wow, I'm like in and out, because my bit's done, my portion's done. That when I did the reporter gigs, I live in Orlando. I spent 4 hours driving there and 4 hours driving home. And I'm only in one scene, you know, my reporter scene. The time that I ran through hair, makeup, and wardrobe, went on set. We did, 3 or 4 takes, and then I'm done. Still, that was like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
So I spent the day in the car to go do that.
Yeah. I did 2 TV series in Miami. One is right now on HBO Max, and the other gonna be, because it's not released yet, to Apple TV, and both in Miami. And I was like that, driving over there, and by the time when you see, you would spend only 2 hours on set or less.
Oh yeah.
And you're done, but your driving time and all, but during that driving time, you prepare yourself.
Oh, absolutely.
Then when you get there, hair, makeup, wardrobe, ready. Done. I'm ready for my part. Let's complete it. You do your best. And when they said, okay, you're wrap, you can go home.
Yep. But it's, that's kind of the give and take.
Yes.
The audition's the job, and when you book it, that's gravy.
Yes.
I get to go play.
Correct.
That's playtime.
Correct. The hard part, and that's where you need to prepare, mental, physical, and all that, is during the auditions.
Oh yeah.
Because that is when you can hit that wall. Because some of these casting directors, they're tough.
Oh, absolutely.
They're tough, and they don't play.
And it's more than just the auditions. Some of it is also just like following the directions.
Correct.
And how they want. And they all can be a little bit different. It's funny because when I first started acting and getting roles, I had not taken any acting classes. I did do a lot of mindset work, and my mindset was that, oh, no. If I feel like I'm acting, then that's a fraud.
Yes.
And so from day one, I was like, no, I'm a great people watcher. That's a great way to learn. Well, how do people behave? Like, be organic and be as natural as possible. For 9 times out of 10, that's what a casting director is looking for is, well, yes, I know you're this damaged, broken, horrible person, but what would they truly do in this situation? And you have to be genuine. So if I feel like I'm acting, I'm not doing it right. So with auditions, I'll do a few takes. If I feel like I'm having to go too many takes, I'm not ready to audition yet.
Yes.
So I'll go run it. And so much is just self-tape these days. But after I get all my takes done, I just did one last night. And my husband's my reader.
Hey.
Always. And he's like, well, I think you got a couple good ones there. And I was like, okay, but let's just do one more and let's throw it all away. And we're just going to do one more. I'm just going to try to forget everything I just did and just blah. Let's just try something different. and spontaneous. And that is almost always one of my better takes when I do that. So, you know, I've had not as many acting roles over the past couple of years. I end up, you know, getting booked for, you know, as a producer or a first AD for a feature film. Well, there's months, if not weeks of pre-pro.
Yes.
That we're working on before a camera button's ever pushed.
Yes.
And then, you know, at least 2, 3, or 4 weeks of production. So that's a long period of time where sometimes it's a challenge for me to be able to accept any, you know, auditions.
Yeah.
And so I'll usually kind of go a little on the low end with auditioning for acting roles when I'm actively working on another film.
Correct. Correct.
So in that sense, it's like, well, you know, I love both. So I'll keep doing both. And every once in a while, I'll be a producer or an AD on a feature film. And they'll be like, well, we've got this role. Would you like it? And I've done that quite a few times, actually, where I end up getting pulled in. And as long as it's something small.
Yeah, that you can continue doing the other part because.
It's just, but it is taking off one hat and putting on another.
Yeah, yeah.
I recently did, I was the first assistant director and a producer for Get Close.
Okay.
Had Jamal Woolard and Marquise Moore in it, and shot right here in Florida. And there was this one role that the executive producer, you know, had not put anyone in. He wanted a female cop. And I love playing kind of nasty people. I love playing bad people. So he was like, well, you're an actor. How about you do that? And so I was like, you know, it's one scene. Yeah, I'll do that. So it was kind of fun. I got to arrest Marquise Moore.
Nice.
and have a, you know, we had a drug bust going on. So that was a lot of fun.
Nice. Yeah, it is always, I call it the chameleon, because actors turn like a chameleon because you need to learn everything. And when you start on this industry, it's great to learn all the bases, because you need to know everything behind the camera and in front of the camera to understand each other.
I think you should.
Yes.
You know, I've been blessed that I do both, and I continue to do both. I had someone once at my very first film industry event that I went to in Florida, was talking with this gentleman, and, you know, he's like, so what are you going to do? Because I was super new.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't know. And he goes, no, you have to pick. And I paused, and I just, at my age, I just don't care as much about following stupid rules. And I just said, no, I don't. And I've never picked. I like both. I'm going to keep doing both. I love them for different reasons. Yes, there's pros and cons to both sides. But I granted it gets hard if you're having to do too much of both within the same project.
Correct.
And I don't typically. It happens every once in a while, and it's usually a small role.
Yeah. Yeah, that it is part of the business, learning that both sides, and they're gonna be the kind of like, okay, I'm tired of being in front of the camera. Let me continue to be behind the camera.
I enjoy that I can do that,
and I can be with a whip and making the people follow directions. Most definitely.
I do find that the one helps the other, though.
Yes.
I actually kind of encourage people that are looking to expand and do more in the industry. It doesn't make me a better actress. Like, that's your talent, but it makes me a better actress on set for the crew.
Because the knowledge
I can block better. I find my light better. I know where I need to be. I know the language that they're speaking. So I'm more efficient.
Correct.
And I'm then better for them on set. And then when I'm on the other side of the camera and I'm working as a producer, first AD, I know exactly what talent's dealing with, coping with, I try to be efficient with their time.
Yes.
And so it actually, each one helps make me a little bit better at the other.
Most definitely, most definitely. Well, let's take another short commercial break, but remember, people, to drop a comment or question if you would like to hear them here in our show. The number is 407-476-9059. Remember to say my name, Joe Batista, followed by your name and your comment or question. And you could also hear it here in Beeline to Passports on GKI Radio. We are back. We are back from commercial break and great music, and you're listening GKI Radio. My name is Joe Batista, and this is your show, Beeline to Passports. And tonight we have a special guest. This special guest, she is a production manager, also a first AD, producer, and actor. Her name, Danielle J. Bowman. Daniel, we talk about the industry. We talk about how you start in the industry, how you start in the Orlando industry. Some of these films and projects that you has been done, and some that you can talk because I would say they have the hush hush in this industry. It's called the NDAs. And then you can say a word or you can pay a ton of money.
Right.
That basically is the hush hush part. But saying that, recently, what project have you been work in, or a project that you are working as we talk?
I've actually had quite a few things release so far this year. I was most of them on producer and first AD end of things, first assistant directing. Condor's Nest was it released in January.
Okay.
Paramount Pictures bought it.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was really quite exciting. We knew something big was coming. We just, the executive producers are just not able to say things until they're able to say things. So that was very exciting. So that's available, I think, on every streaming platform pretty much now. But kind of cool. I think it's a good example of work begets work.
Yeah.
So you're always interviewing for your next job on some of those past jobs. And so having a good attitude, working hard, being the best you can be comes into play. So the same filmmakers for Condor's Nest are now, we're getting close to production on their next film. It'll be their third film, my second working with them, and I'll be the first assistant director on that one as well.
Nice.
I hear that they'll have some pretty big names potentially attached to it. And the last one on Condor's Nest, we had like 6 different, name talent on that. Get Close is the one I mentioned just a bit ago. That one I was a producer, first assistant director, and I had a small acting role in
Nice.
it. That released just a couple months ago on Tubi and Amazon. And just the other day, I think July 6th, Call Her King.
Okay.
Is a film that we shot out in New Jersey like a year and a half ago. It stars Naturi Naughton.
Okay.
And Lance Gross. And that was, I think 8 weeks away from home.
Wow.
That was probably my longest stint of literally just being gone, working on a film. Most other films, you know, you're able to do a lot of the pre-production work at home in front of your computer, and then you just go out for the shooting for, you know, 2 or 3 weeks. So, so coming up, yeah, I've got with Phil Blattenberger, who's the writer-director for Condor's Nest.
Wow.
We'll be working on his next film, Without Consequence is what it's called. And we'll be filming that hopefully in October. It could get bumped with the SAG and WGA strike.
And we're going to talk about that very, very soon. And you said something that is amazing. You start working basically 2016 in the industry. Now you
2018, actually. We moved to Florida in 2016.
2018.
I didn't start getting into it until 2018.
Basically 5 years.
Going into my 5th year, yeah.
5 years, then you basically start getting involved in short films and some films. And then now you move into basically, you transition to be a full-time working in the industry.
Yeah.
And all because network.
Oh, absolutely.
I always say it on the show, in the industry, you need to network. And only do, you know, talk about the industry is that people know who you are, what you can do, and your availability. Because that's super important, because if they need to use somebody like you in a film, they will call you.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think it's I still try to always come from a place of service.
Yes.
And yes, I want to work as much as the next person. Yes, please book me, book me, book me. Of course, we all want that. That's everybody has the I wants. Yes. We all have dreams. We all want these things. But I try and always come from a place of, well, how can I help this production? I actually hate the word networking. I hate networking. I was never very good at it in the corporate world. I'm like, no, I don't want to go to this event and just like, what, talk about me? And no. So I don't even view it that way. I view it as making friends.
Yes.
I'm making film friends. And so, you know, if I'm going to an event, if I'm working, you know, on a production, if I'm here doing a interview with someone, I just look at it as I'm making friends and what can I give? And I find it all comes back to you in droves.
Yes.
So where I hustle, I work very hard to get, you know, to get out there, and I submit a lot. I self-submit, even though I have agents to submit me as well. I don't stop trying to do some of that myself. But more and more, you will get to this point. So I'm always a fan of telling people, I'm like, I'm no smarter than the average bear. If I can do it, anybody can.
Yeah.
Truly, I believe that. I worked full time until I got to the point where I'm having to turn down jobs doing the thing I love to go work this job that it's killing me.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do it anymore.
I hear you.
So I had to have that conversation, and it's very much jumping off a cliff and hoping that the chute opens. There's nothing like something like that to give you the motivation to work your butt off than kind of not having a full-on safety net. If it were easy, everyone would do it. It's not. It's hard. Does that mean you can't do it? No, it just means that you need to have eyes wide open and be willing to fall on your face and fail and make a ton of mistakes and
be consistent,
improve from them.
And be consistent.
Oh my gosh.
And
absolutely.
not only the consistency, you need to be, you know, your work ethic need to be very strong, because you need to be submitting, and you have an agent. Yeah, they have a job, but also part of your job is continue submitting, because sometimes they, you know, agents, they have hundreds of people.
Absolutely.
and they start sending for all these people, but they have also other areas that you can also submit and tell them, hey, I submit for these ones. They have that constant communication that will help you on your career. And one thing then I always say in the industry is when people you have they have a great work ethic, they're very successful
at pretty much anything they do.
Yes.
Whether it's in this industry or any other. I mean, I look at it as for the film industry, you can't fail as long as you don't quit.
Correct.
So and that's where that consistency comes in. Yes, it's hard to audition 20, 30 times in a row and not book. And to keep your own self-motivation up to continue plugging away at it. But if you don't quit, then you won't fail. It's just a matter of time. So
Correct.
Kind of the numbers game we were talking about earlier.
Correct. And one thing then I'm going to tell you, in these couple of days, I saw a movie. It's called Sounds of Freedom. I watched that one very hard. If you think that you will not cry, you will cry on this one. You can be the strongest person and a tear will come out of your eyes. They took 5 years
to make it.
They made it, but they had a lot of companies say no. Big names. Disney say no to them. Netflix say no to them. Amazon say no to them.
Wow.
Lionsgate say no. That film is the #1 independent film that have basically got be the #1 on sales for the 4th of July week.
Wow. Yeah.
Competing
Glad
against.
They didn't give up.
Yes.
Don't give up.
Competing against Indiana Jones and other films, they were on the same week.
Wow.
And they basically went over all that and show that work ethic right there.
Yeah.
They decide, okay, and I was listening while the producer said, I have only 2 ways, or take my script, my film, put it under my arm and leave, or continue fighting.
Yeah.
And they found in the company Angels Films in California, and they say yes. And he's saying in less than a week, there was the contract done, and they said, we're going to release this the 4th of July.
Nice.
And they said, the producer said, but that is the hardest week because there was many movies that are going to come during that period of time. No, we're going to do it.
That's awesome.
And they did it. Consistency and also the work ethic that the people has. And when you see the film, wow, everything, because they film in different areas in Colombia, they film in the U.S., they film in the borders of Mexico and also the U.S., and that was great. And the story behind, because the story behind is talk about human trafficking, specifically with the child human trafficking.
Yeah.
And that is based on a true story.
That's still, I think, a hard topic to get traction on. With some studios, even though it's timely, you have an opportunity to both entertain and educate.
Yes.
And maybe save some lives.
Yeah.
I love it when I get a chance to work on projects that have a message like that, where it's some kind of a social thing that I think will help the world. Those are probably my favorite projects to be a part of.
Yeah, mine too. Mine too. I did couple, and let me tell you, that was so amazing. Learning everything behind,
Mhm.
the story behind why they decide to make this script and why they want and where they want to go with the film.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. Definitely, definitely,
Cool.
definitely. Well, people, thank you for being with us in learning about Miss Danielle J. Bowman. Let's take another short commercial break, and we'll be right back with more of Miss Danielle J. Bowman here in Beeline to Passports on GKI Radio. We are back. We are back from commercial break. Great music, and you're listening GKI Radio. My name is Joe Batista. I'm your host, and this is Beeline to Passports. And tonight we have a special guest. She is an actor, producer, first AD, production manager. Her name, Danielle J. Bowman. Daniel, um, right now on the news we have then the SAG aftra, they do actors, writers, and basically everybody on the industry, they're gonna go on strike.
Yeah.
Your thoughts about what could happen or what gonna happen on the industry with these changes that might be uh change something on the industry from this point on for the next couple days, hopefully. We don't want to see then it take weeks.
Hmm.
Then they sit down and finally, get the balance on everything on that contracts.
Yeah. I mean, I fully support, actors and writers and, people within the industry, so whether it's SAG-AFTRA, WGA, IATSE, having improved work conditions, competitive pay, all of the improvements, everything that they're, fighting for. Um, and, I mean, for me personally, I'm not in any of the unions right
Yes.
now. So for me, I'm SAG eligible, but living in Florida, there's just not enough SAG work that even comes here for me to join the union yet.
Correct.
I say yet, because you never know what the future is going to hold. And I'm always looking onward and upward and looking at my next step. And so it's I'm paying attention to what's going on. My heart goes out. I have a lot of actor friends who are in in the union right now, and I know a lot of them are worried about being able to work.
Correct.
And what's going to come of this.
Yes.
And how long.
Mhm.
I'm crossing fingers that it's going to be brief and they come to an agreement that can be voted on, and let's get everybody back to work.
Correct.
In the meantime, because again, being in Florida, we don't get as much. I think I'd be lying if I said I haven't felt some of it, even with just the WGA strike that was going on. Because although I self hustle, and I have a lot of productions that I'm a part of, both, union and non. The last 6 months, more of it's been non-union. And a lot of times, I'm sure you've found this, where it's a smaller production overall, and one of the executive producers or the director wrote it.
Yes, yeah.
They already wrote it. It's something that they've written already. And so we're making it. And so, I've been fortunate to pretty much continue working production after production so far this year. And, I'm going to potentially experience a little bit of pain from this if the next film that I'm slotted to work on, we're planning on shooting in New Mexico, but it's going to be SAG-AFTRA and not until October. So we're crossing fingers that, they come to an agreement and can vote on that and resolve this, because we have some name talent that we'll be bringing on in their SAG. So it would bump our production. So, but I'm a big fan of do everything else you can. Is everything else in order? Taking classes, getting your materials in order. For me, I'm continuing to hustle and work on getting into whether it's acting or behind the scenes, non-union productions. Most of the union productions I obviously work on are first AD, behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes, yeah.
But, like in Miami, a lot of those films, I'd say about half of them typically are some level of a SAG contract.
Yes, yeah.
And, I'll be like a day player or something like that. And I'm not union. Florida doesn't really... That you get a pass because it's a right to work state. So
correct.
I'll sit non-union until I become a must join, and then I'll make a decision depending on where I'm at in my life.
And it's hard to see this happening because we came out of the pandemic.
Oh, right.
Times, and it was almost 2 years.
Yeah, almost two.
Almost 2 years. Then they stopped certain productions. There were other productions that were basically distance, and you film in your home, and you send this information, and they combine it, edit it, and do the film. But have that time that was hard. Start strong. Now we have this strike, and this strike is for good. It's something then it will
absolutely.
Benefit the industry, but it's hard. It's
hard to just watch it, and I'm not
I'm
not a voting member. I'm not a member of it, but again, a lot of people I know.
Yes.
And it's funny because I'm sure, the majority of people in this industry, I hope anyway, I love what I do. And all I want to do is do it all the time. I want to be on set, whether I'm in front of or behind the camera. And so, my heart goes out because that's got to be difficult. Not just financially, where a lot of productions are just up in the air right now.
Correct.
And, certain markets, I mean, LA, New York, that's going to be very difficult. So hopefully it's brief.
That's right. And then your social media and the IMDb, how people can find you on social media?
I am pretty simple. I'm on Facebook and Instagram primarily. I hustle too much to be on any other social media, and it's hard to manage. It's too much to manage. So Danielle J Bowman, you can find me on Facebook, and Instagram. It's Danielle Bowman 98.
Perfect. And your IMDb?
On IMDb, apparently there's a soccer player,
a
famous soccer player named Danielle Bowman.
Wow.
And she has an IMDb page. So mine is Danielle J Bowman. That's why I use the
J
middle initial. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why you find me as a Joe Batista.
Oh, sure.
Because there was too many Joses, and there were several Jose Batista.
Right?
Yeah,
it helps.
When I found it, I was like number 17 or 18. Like, okay, no, I need to change something. Let me use my nickname because they've been my nickname since I started radio years ago. The Joe, and that's why. Everywhere you find it as a Jose Joe Batista. That's the easy way to do it. Well, Daniel, has been a pleasure learning about your career, learning about you, all these great projects, everything that you want to achieve and looking to achieve in this career, and your final thoughts for our audience.
I think, if someone has a dream, I think you owe it to yourself to take steps to try to make that happen. And, I don't try to figure it all out. I look at this whole thing as a journey, and I'm enjoying the ride.
Well, thank you, thank you, thank you. And people, thank you for being with us in another Beeline to Passports. And remember, be a leader, rock the world, inspires others with your emotions in control. Good night.